Well, that wraps up this week's, the second week's titles of comic books. And let's jump right into the third. We're going to review a few titles. I will tell you that for Green Lanterns #1 and Green Arrow #1, we're not going to talk about those right yet because they were sold out of Green Lanterns and Green Arrow Rebirths when I went to get mine. So I'm going to wait until I get the second printings that come out in July before we review those, and we'll talk about those. This issue has to be probably I don't know, how would you explain this whole event that Batman, the ride of ride #4, Gotham style Batman?
It's a strange issue, strange sort of on purpose with the ending, but essentially one of a plane is shot down over Gotham with passengers, and Batman, being the superhero of Gotham, has to go save it, so he straps what are essentially jet engines to the wings and starts trying to ride the plane into a safer area where it's not going to hit anyone. And along the way, he sort of almost gives Alfred like a last will and testament kind of thing, which it hit me weird. Batman does incredibly dangerous things every day, seemingly. And if it's that threatening for him to do a last will and testament, he'd have to do that like every other day to Alfred.
Right.
It's weird.
Last issue, he was in water for 6 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe he couldn't talk about, hey...
Yeah. You'd think
Duke.
he would have done that before.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he knew he was only supposed to be in for 4 minutes, but he stayed in for 6. It's just very strange.
And who are these two characters that actually help him lift the plane up like they were in Metropolis? They have, what is it, Gotham and
Gotham Girl.
Gotham Girl. What's going on there?
Yeah, kind of strange costume design. Not a real big fan of the names Gotham or Gotham Girl, but I don't know. Maybe they'll work out. We don't really even know them yet, but very, very retro feeling.
Yes. So this issue wasn't absurd. It was funny just seeing Batman kind of like riding the reindeer, just surfing. I don't know if you want to call it like Fonzie jumping the shark where he's on the surfboard, but he was riding the plane.
Yeah.
Batman on a plane.
Yeah. Well, and at one point, one of the passengers of the plane does have sort of a little panic attack and says, "Oh, of course, we're going down over Gotham. You go down over any other city, somebody catches the plane. But no, we're going down over Gotham." And that was enjoyable, at least.
Yeah, it was. It was a good issue. It was funny. Superman #1. This one should have been called Jonathan Kent #1 because this was more of the focus on Superman's family, on Lois Lane and on Jonathan. And it looks like Jonathan has some growing pains.
Yeah. He's not super comfortable using his powers. His parents aren't super comfortable with him using his powers either. And it is interesting watching him trying to come to terms with that. It is sort of like almost getting a Superman origin story again, with him figuring out that he can hear so much all around and he can vaporize things with heat vision at will.
Or even not at will, when just he loses control.
Yeah.
And that's what they're trying to teach him is when and where and how to use your powers and be discreet. And being that he's a kid, he doesn't quite understand why he can't use them to build the barn or get his chores done early. They're trying to teach him how to respect his abilities. But he gets angry at a couple scenes when a bird takes his pet cat and he loses control and heat visions both of them by accident. And the creepiest scene in the comic is that little girl just kind of looking at him.
Yeah, their little weird blonde-haired neighbor who... Maybe it's just the art style. Maybe she's not meant to be creepy, but she came off real creepy. At
the very end, you see Batman and Wonder Woman outside of the farmhouse. Superman goes to talk to him. Conversation, Jonathan is kind of eavesdropping. He hears certain parts of it. And it looks like they were trying to recruit Superman for the Justice League and trying to find out where Jonathan's power levels are, where all of a sudden Superman turns around and says, "Oh yeah, you're listening." That freaks Jonathan out. He kind of moves around. I think he breaks a lamp. And then afterwards, the door opens up. Superman says, "You're coming with me right now. Get ready." So we'll see where he goes from here. But I think little Jonathan's adventures are just going to begin, and it will be interesting to see how he develops his power, because he's definitely going to be a kind of I think a central part of this new rebirth is he will probably be Superboy as he learns his powers. He's getting them a lot faster than I think Clark did.
Yeah, and that'll be interesting because Superman has never really had like his own version of Robin. Almost, it's kind of a similarity there,
Right.
Somewhere between Robin and Superboy, sort of. That might be where Jonathan ends up.
The best issue I felt out this week, and I know a lot of people missed it because they didn't advertise that Wally West was going to be in the Titans issue until DC Rebirth came out, and then they showed the cover. And if you didn't get it, don't worry, there'll be second printings already announced, and they'll be out in July. But going forward, if you haven't put Titans in your comic book poll list, I'd recommend doing this because this is an integral part. I think I keep saying integral, this is a big part, but you have the Flash, you have Batman, you have Superman, and I think you have Titans will all be connected to the ongoing plot of this rebirth that pays out within 2 years.
Mm-hmm. Yep, particularly Wally, since Wally seems to be the one who's sort of tied to the rebirth the most, and he's the one who can make people remember the past just by touching them. And he mentions in this issue, after he reunites with the Titans and gets them to stop beating the crap out of him once they remember who he is, that whoever caused the New 52 is probably going to come after him because he's undoing those changes, sort of. And that'll be interesting to see how they help defend him against that.
Oh, I liked it when Wally was looking at the pictures. He wasn't in them. But when he started fighting with the Titans accidentally and he figured out he had to touch each one to get them to remember, he magically reappeared in the photos.
Yeah. And it's interesting, too, because that sort of ties into the very beginning where they're posing for one of the photos and Wally's not in it. That's because Wally's at the camera, and then he has to go run around to the other side and, come in the back so he can be in the shot. It's a funny little tie-in with that.
Yeah. That was a really good issue. Like I said, it's an integral piece of the puzzle for Rebirth and where it stands. And quite honestly, it'll be a title that I was not going to put in my poll list, but ongoing, once I read it, it's going to be one that I'm going to put in my poll list.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was very nice. Very nice to see these particular Titans again. I think a lot of them sort of get pushed out of the limelight with the more modern Titans, especially like the cartoon Titans, where we don't see Don Troy very often, we don't see Aqualad very often, we certainly don't see Lilith Clay very often.
Right.
Yeah.
So this brings us to week 2 to week 3 of kind of the recapped reviews of DC Rebirth. Titans was a great issue. Superman was another issue that I thought focused on Jonathan Kent and kind of where he's going to fit in within the family with his powers. Batman, Ride the Plane, a little obnoxious, but it was still Batman. It was still, he's always thinking no matter what happens, he never gives up. We've got The Flash Rebirth, which was a little epilogue to DC Universe Rebirth with him talking with Batman and trying to draw the parallels between them. But in the meantime, there's a new speedster kind of watching over. Mm-hmm. Nothing's quite, it's the same, but something's a little amiss there.
Yep.
My favorite title, Action Comics, Lex Luthor, Suit, Superman's back, Doomsday, and Clark Kent.
Yeah, Clark Kent's back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My money's on some type of alternate Clark Kent. Who knows? What do you think?
I don't know. I was toying with possibly the Eradicator or someone like that, but he wouldn't show up in a civilian guise. Who knows? I don't know.
Detective Comics, The Birth of the Bat Team. Batwoman is recruited by Batman, their cousins, to bring a team together for this new group menace that seems pretty massive. You've got Red Robin, you have the Spoiler, you have Orphan, and to round it off, you have Clayface, because Clayface. Wonder Woman Rebirth. Wonder Woman is questioning her origins because she's remembering differently, and someone's lied to her, so she's out to find the truth.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of curious on what she's going to find.
Yeah, it must be a pretty powerful thing for her to fight, because to have completely changed Olympus, it'll be interesting to see who's been toying with her.
Yes. In Aquaman Rebirth, commentary by his arch nemesis, the Manta, and knowing Aquaman's strengths, weaknesses, and who he's going to attack first. I think to say he's out for blood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Last, before we go, I'm going to call it now. I want to go back to, I think it was Superman. I don't know if you can see it, where he puts the blue handprint. That's significant. Between Superman and Action Comics, someone's watching Superman. And I think it's, who was the character from The Watchmen? The bird character who end up being the villain.
Oh, you mean Ozymandias was the...
Yeah, Ozymandias. I butchered the name, sorry. He's watching Superman, his actions. He's saying, Superman, not everything is what you believe it is. When he puts that blue handprint, or he puts the handprint down and it's blue, I'm calling it, I think that somehow Dr. Manhattan has done something with this Superman, or has infused him with powers or some residual energy, and that is why Oz is watching over Superman so closely, because he knows he might have a connection to Dr. Manhattan. Don't know what, I'm calling it. I could be way off. Hopefully it isn't where he's actually Dr. Manhattan. That would make me mad. But I think there's more to it than just him watching over. There's a definite connection.
Yeah. I don't think he probably is Dr. Manhattan, just because he does go to Metropolis and engage Lex Luthor in a fist fight, sort of unprovoked. That doesn't seem like something Dr. Manhattan would do, but you never know.
Right.
You never know.
So this brings us all caught up to DC Universe Rebirth, Week 2 and Week 3. Keep on lookout. This will wrap up our Season 3, and we will be back with Season 4 when we do our annual E3 2016 coverage, which was quite interesting this year. And I'm just, any real quick thoughts why you looked at some of the...
Not really. I have such a little time for video games anymore, but I wish I could get into more of it.
And on that, we're going to have to get Josh a video game system.
I have one. It's just not up to date.
So next time you see us, we'll start with our Season 4 E3 coverage. And Jeremy Holder, hopefully, will be back to be able to give us his take on E3. So for Delve Into the Void, I'm Tom Morris.
And I'm Josh Holderbaum.
And we'll see you next time.
Access Vision. Your voice, your community.